Welcome back to Orison Financial Tutorial. In this section, we are discussing about the VAT entries and the VAT report. Orison Financial is a fully VAT-compatible software. Value-added tax or VAT is an indirect tax. It is a type of general consumption tax that is collected incrementally, based on the value added, at each stage of production or distribution or sales. It is usually implemented as a destination-based tax. It is also known as Goods and Services Tax or GST in some countries. VAT is one of the most common types of consumption tax found around the world. Over 150 countries have implemented. There are mainly 6 ledgers for VAT in the chart of accounts. 1. Output VAT, in which VAT received from sales are shown. 2. Input VAT, where all VAT given to suppliers will be available. 3. Credit note and debit note, shows all VAT amounts related to sales return and purchase return respectively. 4. Reverse charge input and output accounts, related to import invoices from outside country. 5. VAT expense account, a non-recoverable VAT account. Some expenses like refreshment etc. are not recoverable. As explained earlier in Part 2, company, supplier and customer masters are to be updated with TRN number and VAT place. Item master should be updated with VAT percentage. Let's start the VAT entry from Purchase Voucher. For adding new entry, click on the plus button or F6 key. In Purchase, we can see the place, TRN number, VAT type, tax code, inclusive or exclusive on the top, and VAT amount, VAT total at bottom. While selecting the supplier, VAT place and TRN number will come automatically, if it is provided in the supplier master. VAT place is mandatory in all the vouchers. Next comes tax code. According to FDA, there are several tax codes. Mainly, SR for standard rate, ZR for zero-rated supply, OS for out-of-scope supply, RC in the case of reverse charge mechanism, X for exempt. In VAT type combo box, there are 2 options: recoverable and non-recoverable. If the VAT type is recoverable, VAT amount will go to the input VAT. Otherwise, it will go as an expense only. For calculating VAT, first mention whether the transaction is inclusive or exclusive. While entering item, in case of inclusive, enter the unit price with VAT, and in case of exclusive, the unit price should be without VAT. The VAT of each item will be calculated and automatically comes in the VAT column. In the VAT total at the bottom, the total VAT amount will come. If the VAT type is recoverable, then the VAT amount also contains the total VAT amount, otherwise the VAT amount is 0. In some situations, the VAT supplied by the supplier is not tallying with the VAT amount in our system. In that case we can use the VAT diff field. You can put minus or plus amount for adjusting the difference. Here, you can see the Apply Discount button. If the VAT should be calculated after discount, enter the discount and then click on the Apply Discount button. After entering the items, we cannot change the tax code, even if it is wrong. In that case, we want to use the Vat Refresh section. Click on the Change Tax Code button, then select the tax code and click on Refresh button. After finishing all the entries, you can use the Save button or F7 key to save the purchase entry. Similarly, we can enter purchase return. Next comes the sales voucher. This is also similar to the purchase entry. For adding new voucher, click on the plus button or F6 key. In sales, we can see the TRN number, place, VAT type, tax code on the top and VAT at bottom. While selecting the customer, VAT place and TRN number will come automatically if it is provided in the customer master. VAT place is mandatory in all the vouchers. Next comes tax code. According to FDA, there are several tax codes. Mainly, SR for standard rate, ZR for zero-rated supply, OS for out-of-scope supply, X for exempt, etc. In VAT type combo box, First mention whether the transaction is inclusive or exclusive. While entering item, in case of inclusive, enter the unit price with VAT, and in case of exclusive, the unit price should be without VAT. The VAT of each item will be calculated and automatically comes in the VAT column. In the VAT field at the bottom, the total VAT amount will come. Here, you can see the Apply Discount button. If the VAT should be calculated after discount, enter the discount and then click on the Apply Discount button. After entering the items, we cannot change the tax code if it is wrong. In that case, we want to use the Vat Refresh section. Click on the Change Tax Code button, then select the tax code and click on Refresh button. After finishing all the entries, you can use the Save button or F7 key to save the purchase entry. Sales return is also same as sales. In Journal Voucher, we have the option to add VAT details for the expenses. For adding new, click on the plus button or F6 key. Here you can see the VAT column in the grid, with a button. Select one expense account, enter the debit amount which is VAT inclusive, and for entering the invoice details, click on the VAT button, where you are prompted to enter the invoice number, invoice date, supplier name, TRN number and VAT. 5% of the expense amount is automatically calculated and displayed in the VAT column. If you want to change it, you can change or leave as it is. Only one row is allowed for each expense. After entering all the details, click on the Close button. Please be noted, the VAT is allowed for debit amount only, and also the debit amount should be inclusive of VAT. If the TRN number is provided, it will go to the input VAT account. Otherwise, to the expense account. After finishing all the entries, you can use the Save button or F7 key to save the journal entry. Similarly, we can enter the petty cash voucher. Next comes Contra Voucher. In Contra Voucher, we have a provision to enter VAT. In the case of card clearing, we are using Contra Voucher, and for card commission, there is VAT. Here you can see the merchant name, TRN and invoice number. While entering the card commission amount, VAT calculated automatically, and it will appear in the VAT field. Let's explore the VAT report. At end of each VAT period we need to submit the VAT details to the Federal Tax Authority. We can see these details in VAT report. From reports you will get the VAT report menu. Click on the VAT report menu. Here, you can enter the VAT period you want to check and click on the search button. You can see 3 grids, where the VAT details is coming. On the first grid, at the top, you can see the output VAT details, which is Emirates-wise, and also the ZR, EX, OS supplies during that period. On the second grid at the bottom, you will get the input VAT details. On the third grid, at left-hand side, you will get the net VAT during the period. In the grids, you can see the columns, description, amount, VAT amount, CR amount, CR VAT, net amount, net VAT and adjustment. Amount and VAT amount columns related to output VAT account. Amount means taxable amount. CR amount and CR VAT columns related to credit note account. CR amount means taxable amount. Net amount and net VAT columns related to the net output VAT, means VAT amount minus CR VAT. Similarly, in the case of input VAT, amount and VAT amount columns related to input VAT account. DR amount and DR VAT columns related to credit note account. DR amount means taxable amount. Net amount and net VAT columns related to the net input VAT, means VAT amount minus DR VAT. In the left grid, net output VAT, net input VAT and payable tax for the period is coming. In this report, you will get 2 types of printout, by clicking on the Print Preview button, and choose Summary or Detailed. You can also directly copy the grid data to an Excel. For viewing the detailed VAT report, click on the Register button on VAT report. Enter the VAT period and click on the Search button. Here, you can see the details like account name, effective date, voucher number, invoice number, V-type, tax code, Emirates, TRN number, description, debit, credit, voucher amount, taxable amount, etc. On the left side, you can see the filters for main account, account name, tax code and V-type. You can make use of it for getting the required VAT register. In this register, you will get the printout of the register by clicking on the print preview or press F4 key. You can also directly copy the grid data to an Excel. Once payment is made to FTA, we need to freeze the VAT period in order to prevent modifications or adding in that period. In order to do VAT closing, we need to create FTA as supplier. For closing the VAT period, click on the VAT Closing button in the Vat Report, or go to Tools menu, and click VAT Closing menu. A small window opens, and enter the From Date and Closing Date, means the VAT period. Click on the Generate VAT button. Then Output VAT, Input VAT, Credit Note, Debit Note balances and net amount will appear automatically. After checking the values, click on the Pass VAT Entry button to close the VAT period. By this, an automatic entry will pass for closing the VAT period. If the VAT period is not closed, any modifications in the VAT amount will affect the amount paid to the FTA or the payable amount. So, it is not recommended.